Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta reiterates that the economy is on a recovery path as Ghana signs €42 million financing agreement with the EU to promote sustainable development.
Truly, Ghana has paid its dues. Our fiscal situation has improved. Reviews with the IMF and our program are being completed successfully and on time. And broadly speaking, we are making steady progress toward macro stability.
Also coming up, former British High Commissioner to Ghana, Nicholas Westcott, on Ghana's debt crisis, while he says Ghana's foreign loans have not been used judiciously.
Has that money that has been borrowed been put into productive investment? Some of it, yes, but clearly some of it has not. And therefore there is an obligation on the Ghanaian side to say, have we used this money well? And I know there is public debate about that. Right. Where has all the money gone that was borrowed?
Plus, government disburses $315 million from foreign direct investments to support agri sector.
We have disbursed a little over $350 million from our development partners to support ongoing agricultural projects.
My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. Thanks for staying with us, everyone. First up, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has reiterated that the economy is on a recovery path, citing improvement in some macroeconomic indicators. According to him, government is committed to working to improve on the fiscals to achieve economic growth. He was speaking at a €42 million financing agreement signing ceremony between the EU and the government of Ghana for green transition in agribusiness and public financial management.
The financial agreement is aimed at promoting sustainable development, fostering economic growth, and strengthening key sectors critical for EU-Ghana partnership. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta said his outfit is committed to promoting sound public financial management to ensuring stability.
Truly, Ghana has paid its dues. Our fiscal situation has improved. Reviews with the IMF and our program are being completed successfully and on time. And broadly speaking, we are making steady progress toward macro stability and debt sustainability. Additionally, our focus now as a government is on securing an economic turnaround underpinned by robust institutions and an active private sector. Viewed within that lens, today's agreements are fully aligned with both our 5-year PFM strategy and the government's growth agenda, which are anchored in the themes of 1, strengthening the macro-fiscal framework, 2, strong and ambitious structural reforms in tax policy, revenue administration and public financial management, and 3, reforms to encourage private sector investments, strengthen growth and create more jobs.
European Union Ambassador to Ghana, His Excellency Ichad Bazali, said this will help foster fiscal discipline and increase investor confidence.
Additionally, the inclusion of agribusiness in this agreement highlights our shared recognition of the crucial role that agriculture plays in fostering economic growth, providing livelihoods, and ensuring food security. We aim to enhance productivity, increase resilience to climate change, and promote sustainable agricultural practices that will contribute to the overall development agenda. At this juncture, let me stress that the European Union is unreservedly supporting the Planting for Food and Job 2.0 program presented by the Minister under the chairmanship of the President last week, Thursday it is, if I'm not mistaken. Specifically, we shall support 4 value chains: share, soybean, vegetables, and beekeeping.
The agreement opens a new era of collaboration and progress focusing on private sector development and public financial management. James Eshen's reports for Joy Business.
Now, Ghana is among a number of countries in Africa facing a sovereign debt crisis. Now, with a public debt stock of over 500 billion cedis, the country was compelled to seek bailout from the International Monetary Fund. Sharing his thoughts on the spiraling debt crisis, former British High Commissioner to Ghana, Nicholas Westcott, said the country's foreign loans are not being used judiciously. The professor at the SOAS University in London says more effective mechanisms must be developed by Ghana and other African countries to contain the effects of the economic crisis.
It makes one slightly uneasy that despite doing all the right things, countries are still not seeming to be able to emerge. So there are two aspects of this. One, are they actually doing all the right things? Ghana has borrowed very heavily, but has it invested wisely? Has that money that has been borrowed been put into productive investment? Some of it, yes, but clearly some of it has not. And therefore there is an obligation on the Ghanaian side to say, have we used this money well? And I know there is public debate about that. Right. Where has all the money gone that was borrowed? So that it's quite right that there should be that debate, and it should be an economic debate as well as a political one. It's not just about corruption, it's about how are we using the money in terms of investment. I come back and still there is no good road from Accra to Kumasi. You know, this should be the M1, this should be the major route. There should have been a dual carriageway there 20, 30 years ago, but still it is not built. Why, I ask? So that is one question. But the other is that for many countries across Africa, however much money you borrow, you're never going to be able to get out of the problems because the world is stacked against you. It is and it isn't. There are opportunities out there, and we've seen from the way that Asian economies grew that it is possible to get out of this cycle of poverty. Right. But Africa has not yet achieved that transformation which we are arguing for in asset. And part of the problem is that for African countries to borrow, it is very expensive, and it has been getting more expensive because there is a risk premium, and that's partly due to the political instability, partly due to the lack of transparency of some of the financial transactions that go on. And there is therefore steps that can be taken within African countries, including Ghana, to make it cheaper for them to borrow money and therefore have a better chance. And secondly, though, the international financial system needs to take more account of the African perspective.
Now, government says it has disbursed $350 million from foreign direct investments into the agri sector. The move follows recent complaints by agri sector players that financial institutions provide very little support to them. According to a Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kuma, this is to support ongoing projects. Yes, more.
The agriculture sector has been witnessing a slow growth rate for the past decade. This is mainly linked to a lack of financial assistance to the sector. Many analysts have called for the implementation of schemes that will lend to players along the agricultural value chain. Speaking at the Presidential Roundtable discussion with development partners on the Planting for Food and Jobs Phase 2, a Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kuma, said the government has heard their pleas. Hence, it has allocated fresh funds from foreign direct investments into the agriculture sector.
All of us, the private sector, government of Ghana, our development partners, have certainly tried to play our respective parts. And I'm encouraged by the feedback that came from the previous panel discussion on the role of development partners. I believe that as we act and work together, we can make tremendous progress working together. We have disbursed a little over $350 million from our development partners to support ongoing agricultural projects. Projects like the 27 million Savannah Agricultural Value Chain Development, 36.6 million for Agricultural Sector Investment Program, the 103 million USD Ghana Commercial Agricultural Projects, among others.
Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo has urged development partners and foreign investors to tailor projects that work in tandem with government policies to ensure appropriate utilization of funds.
In spite of the productive collaboration that has taken place between government and Friends of Ghana over the years, a matter of concern has been at times the misalignment of priorities between the policies of certain international development agencies and national policies and strategies. Government is concerned by this because projects designed by foreign governments to support Ghana's agriculture should naturally align with government's priorities. Any deviation from this can amount to misdirected investments in the country.
Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Brian Ichampong, was optimistic that if the sector worked together, it would enable cost-effective use of capital to achieve common development objectives.
Without a doubt, the success of the Planting for Food and Jobs program will depend on several factors. But for the purpose of today's discussion, I would like to focus on 4. The first one will require the active participation of the private sector. Secondly, financing these value chain activities by banks and other financial institutions and development partner programs will be critical. The third success factor will be increasing investment in supporting agricultural infrastructure and technology. The reason why we are gathered here is to refocus our partners in agriculture on the task ahead.
The presidential roundtable discussion attracted international partners such as the World Bank, the Food and Agriculture Organization, the U.S. Agency for International Development, AGRA, and the World Food Programme, among others.
Now, GCB Bank PLC has attributed its impressive performance in the first 9 months of this year to a 3-pronged strategy of revenue growth, operational excellence, as well as people and talent. Speaking at the Ghana Stock Exchange's Facts Behind the Figures program, Managing Director Kofi Adumako said the focus of the bank is to achieve digital leadership in the banking industry.
According to the Managing Director of GCB Bank PLC, Kofi Adumako, the bank will remain dominant and resilient in the banking industry. Speaking to Joy Business at the Facts Behind the Figures at the Ghana Stock Exchange, Mr. Adumako stated that they will enhance their technological drive to beat down operating cost.
Operating cost is high. GCB 186 branches. So the OPEX there is much higher than in other banks. What are we doing to bring down operating costs? We're ensuring that we involve technology in what we do. The initial cost of technology is also high, but in the long term, if technology is viewed as an investment, in the long term, it's expected to bring down that cost over time. Also, putting in place a framework that enables banks like GCB focus on value for money will also ensure that our costs also come down.
Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abinamwa, tells Joy Business the local buzz is beginning to see some signs of recovery as most listed companies are recording strong financial performance.
Again, signs of recovery in the market, and some of the signs we are seeing is that the companies are bringing out strong financial performance. When you look at the half year and then of course the 9 months results that are coming out, many companies are growing at double digits growth rates. We are seeing secondary trading on the market also picking up. On the equities market so far this year, our composite index is up almost 28%. The financial stock index, which had recorded significant losses, are down. We've regained some of the losses and we are down about 3.5% as at yesterday. And also companies are looking to come to the market to raise capital again.
Meanwhile, the bank recorded 21.51% year-on-year growth in profit to the tune of 538 million cedis profit in the first 9 months of 2023.
You're watching The Marketplace. Time now for the Joy Business Summit. And recent audit reports by the Auditor General on public accounts have revealed significant financial irregularities regarding the conduct of procurement in the public sector. For instance, the financial attributions to procurement irregularities, i.e. procurement stores and contracts in the 2022, 2021 and 2020 AG reports were 878,591 million and 947 million respectively. Joining us in studio now is Dr. Kang Singpente, procurement specialist, also lecturer at Gimpa Business School. Good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us as we look into procurement and how businesses can improve on the processes. I want to start with the figures. I was trying to run some figures by our audience. What do the figures tell us about how we are tackling procurement infractions in the country? Are we improving?
Yeah, I think that having gone through the Aegis report over the period that you have mentioned, there appeared to be a very significant reduction. Which could be interpreted to mean improvements in terms of the irregularities that have been reported over the period. If you look at the figure that you mentioned, I was just trying to do some computations. Okay. 2021, 2022, there is a reduction by about in excess of 100%. Okay. So what it means is that there is some level of improvement in terms of the manner in which procurement is conducted in the public sector. The question is, what is the public sector doing, or the respective MMDAs to which these audits were conducted? What are they doing better, resulting into this improvement?
Exactly.
A number of things I could think about. I believe that the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament is doing a good job. Their follow-up actions on the Aegis report year on year seems to serve as a source of deterrent. It's actually deterring people to the extent that I believe that is deepening the level of compliance in the manner in which procurement is conducted in the public sector space. Again, as a result of this, there is a follow-up thought that I believe practitioners in the public sector are giving some level of autonomy that is required to do their job and to getting things done right. To the extent that the entity leads, or in other words, the entity heads, are also empowering the team to do their job. The other reason that I think we may have to investigate further has to do with the extent of the audit scope.
Okay.
Because if you look at the level of reduction, 2021 was about 900, and mention the figure again, look at your report.
Yeah, 2021, just quickly do that for you, was 591 million.
Very good.
2020 was 947 million.
Very good. And the current year, 2022?
878,000.
Yeah, that is very, very significant.
Incredible.
Very, very incredible. So the question, in respect of my third point, has to do with there is a need for us to understand the methodology that the auditor used this time around in 2022, and also the audit scope. The audit scope. For instance, if you have about 1,000 procurement-related transactions, both CAPEX and OPEX, over that period, and the sample that was targeted for the audit was 60, it will definitely have implications on the outcome. As against taking a sample of about 250 procurement-related transactions and auditing it, you will not get this figure you're seeing. So we need to understand the extent of the scope in terms of the audit, the sample that was used to conduct audit, because this is a very significant improvement. And if it is the case that the sample was significant and they still got this result, and if you look at the reason that was attributed to that particular infraction, it is not a case that people were not doing things right. It is the case that one instance, in terms of the contract, the supplier has been giving about 15% mobilization, and then he abandoned the project.
Because I was reading the figures myself.
Yes, it's a very significant reduction.
So incredible.
Yeah, so we need to know the scope of the audit and the methodology that was used.
You're talking about some of the things that has been done over the last couple of years, but I also want to find out, what do we still need to do to drastically reduce these irregularities and the infractions that we have seen?
Sure. I believe that as a people, we really know what we have to do. I always say that we have quite a number of regulations that are self-empowering. If you look at the Public Procurement Act itself, the amended version currently, and other related laws that support financial discipline in the public sector space, like the Public Financial Management Act, and then the regulation LI 2378. These are self-empowering tools that technocrats and, for that matter, politicians would have to, just as a matter of continue to empower practicing professionals in their space to give them technical guidance in getting things done. In terms of technology, I am happy. Quite recently, I chanced on a directive from the Public Procurement Authority that is implementing the GANEPs.
Yeah.
And I think kudos to them. It's a very fantastic initiative. Try to ensure that we use that enterprise resource planning platform to execute procurement. If we are able to give ourselves a target that year on year, we would like to achieve by the next 3 years, achieve about 90% of every procurable activity in the public sector space, leveraging on GANEP to do the sourcing within the procure to implement cycle, there's going to be significant reduction in these irregularities and its associated financial, negative financial impact to public financial discipline and then the budget issues that we have. I think PAC should continue to do their work, and to the extent that they will follow up to enforce the sanctions regime and get people punished and deepen the level of stiffness of the punishment for non-compliance. This, within the short term, could resolve or reduce drastically the level of infractions.
Yeah, I'm just looking at a story where it was reported that the PPA was looking at the end of this year to expedite the fully digitized procurement system that we've been talking about today. But the focus has been on the public sector most of the time. So I want us to shift to the private sector and how they're doing when it comes to dealing with irregularities and infractions.
Sure.
Tell us.
So, you see, you can set yourself up to fail. In the private sector, procurement is regulated by strategy. And quite a number of private sectors, whether you find yourself in the small, medium scale or large scale space, in as much as you recognize the fact that there are two sides to your business, driving revenue and managing cost. 70% of your annual spend, whether in the CAPEX or in the OPEX space, are attributed to procurement. So therefore, if you want to sustain your revenue or ensure that you are growing profit year on year, you need to be managing costs. So the area to look at is procurement. So therefore, in the private sector space, and for those entities that have come to terms with the fact that to manage costs sustainably, they need to leverage procurement, are actually leveraging strategy and instituting the appropriate operating model and governance framework. And they ensure strict compliance. If there are any incidences of non-compliance, a sanctions regime applies stiffly and instantly. There is also a lot of empowerment. You get the right skills there, continuous training, people are properly motivated. And on top of it, you have protocols that enable the kind of policies that you want to, in terms of technology. So quite a number of medium to large scale enterprises across our industry have taken steps to actually implement ERP systems that they are using to conduct procurement. And so therefore, they are getting the maximum benefit from this particular arrangement.
We just have about 1 minute, and so I want you to quickly share with us the recommendations you have for both the private sector and the public sector in dealing with procurement infractions.
Yeah. So I think, thank you very much. I think in the very short term from the public sector space, PAC should continue to do their work and enforce the sanctions. Two, within the very short term to medium term, I believe that there should be a legislative instrument to redirect the reporting command of Public Procurement Authority to report to Parliament, other than what Act 921 has recommended, wherein PPA reports to Finance Ministry. There are reasons for it. Because of time, I will not go into it. Now, and again, they should continue to deepen the GANEP and then how GIFMIS is being used from a technology point of view. This will significantly help. In the very long term, I have suggested this over and over, that it is important that we reconfigure how public procurement is orchestrated by deepening centralization. In other words, having a centralized entity that manages procurement as far as public procurement is concerned and spend discipline is concerned. That entity should report directly to Parliament. In the private sector, I would rather want to encourage enterprises that really want to deliver quantum performance and growth in year on year should look at cost. And the key to leverage on is procurement.
Plenty to talk about. I hope we have you in for a second day. Dr. Kangsing Pente, the procurement specialist, also lecturer at the Gempa Business School. Thank you so much for your time with us this afternoon. And well, before we go, I want to do one last story because it's the startup week. And so entrepreneurship and private enterprises remain vital in expanding local economies, but many who venture the path fail to realize they needed financial support. To bridge the knowledge gap, the Youth Empowerment Center of SOS Children's Village is investing resources to keep small enterprises afloat. Nanaya Ojima has more.
Susanna Wezani, after completing senior high school, relocated to the Ashanti region for a better life. Fortunately for her, she was enrolled into fashion designing, hoping to become a top one in her community. But after the year's training, the journey has not been as smooth as expected.
It was not going well. The way I brand my business and the way I receive my customers, it was making my work difficult.
Susanna is just one of many dressmakers who are struggling to keep a balance in their finances. Through soft skills training, she is imparted with knowledge of the best business practices and research by the Youth Empowerment Center of the SOS Children's Village has shown customer service and quality of job done are some key factors militating against the growth of the fashion industry. Roberta Aite is project coordinator for the hub.
So she had been able to start her business, but when it comes to registering her business, which system she needs to put in place to ensure that her business becomes sustainable or something that she didn't know much about. All of them, most of them, she in particular had the aim of training other people. But if she doesn't get the training she needs to sustain the business today, how does the business live long enough to benefit other young people? So in as much as we were looking for people who had no idea what to do, there is the need to also support those who have started something little so that they can expand their businesses and really keep the businesses growing.
Youth Empowerment Center, they're investing resources in keeping small businesses afloat. And that's the marketplace. Thanks for watching, everyone. More news on our website, myjournline.com/business. My name is Daryl. Thanks for watching. We'll be back same time tomorrow.